there's actually a video that I want to do myself, but I'm going to check out this video right here. This is by the Coding Sloth. Coding Sloth really makes really high production videos. I watched a couple of the videos before. I want to review this video because it was, made in the last month. I want to check it out. Let's react to it.
How would I learn to code if I could start over? This is a question I ask myself every day, and it looks like I'm not alone here. It took me around 2 years to learn to code where I didn't need tutorials anymore, or well, I didn't need them as much. I could turn on some music and just code. But I'm pretty stupid. I'm not the brightest. One would say I have 0 IQ. Now, during those 2 years, I made a lot of mistakes when I was learning to code. A lot of mistakes. Mistakes that I could have easily avoided. I could have saved hours, days, and honestly, I could have saved years. I wasted time on a lot of things I didn't need to know.
Yo, I hate discrete math with a passion. Yeah, there's actually this one commenter on my video, I believe it's one of them. I don't know which one it was. Maybe I'll put it up here if I find it. But yeah, it was like, what kind of math is required for coding? I was like, yo, it all depends on what you're doing. So if you don't need to do it, don't do it. But if you're getting into something that require that kind of stuff, get it, do it, learn it, and figure it out. You might be sitting on a problem. You don't really understand like the logic and the stuff behind it and how to get to that endpoint. But then if you up your knowledge in this particular area, then you can solve that. But for the most part, if you don't need discrete math or you don't need none of that advanced stuff, you don't really have to do that. Like, you don't need discrete math for building out a web site and the UI side. It's like, there's nothing too complex with that. If you really doing anything with data science, yeah, maybe you have to do more math heavy stuff like discrete math, or I think I mentioned in the comments below for the persons like, numerical methods. Like, I think numerical methods is probably one of the best ways to like approximate anything. If you don't need it, don't use it, or don't try to learn it. Learn the stuff that you need to learn. Maybe you learn it, but keep it in your back pocket. That's it. Do it for your own enjoyment.
What would I do differently with the knowledge I have today? That's what I'm going to explain in this video, and I hope my advice will help you out so you don't waste time like I did. So one of the first things I would do differently, and this may sound weird to some of you, is I would create a list of resources to learn programming and to catch up on some tech news, because as long as you're consuming something about programming, you're gonna get better. But that's a lot of work. It would take a while to create this list and find the right resources, which is why I'm excited to share this website that already does the work for you. And that's today's sponsor, Daily.dev. Daily.dev is a free...
I actually just added this extension to my browser, but for the most part, what does Daily.dev extension do, because he's gonna do this build, we're gonna skip over it. It gives you a whole bunch of lists, and these lists are curated from different sources. Like, you probably see the emblem for free code camp. It's right there. And then there's some other ones like Medium and some other particular sources like any particular blocks. I think it's really great little extension. And now when I create a new tab on my browser and stuff, this pops up and it's more productive. I can see the news, what's going on in tech, and it's very specially curated to your space. So this is not a sponsorship. I'm not sponsored with Daily.dev, but so far I've been using it. It's been pretty good.
Dev, you can use my link in the description. Now, the first thing I would do if I was learning to code again, before we even start worrying about the code, is having a goal. Yeah, pretty simple and straightforward. You're gonna notice that a lot in this video. Having a goal is a cheat code. It helps you focus and it guides you. Without a clear goal, you're gonna get off track and waste time. But your goal can't be too broad. If your goal was to learn to code, that's not very helpful, is it? It's too broad of a goal, because how do you...
All right, so one of the things in regards to programming is about scope. So like, scope can be used in your whole entire life. If you understand, hey, instead of like cleaning up a whole entire house, what about cleaning up this specific area of the house so you can focus on that goal and finish that particular task? Then you can knock out multiple tasks in the house of cleaning out this house kind of situation. Setting a goal in that sense, like if you get the analogy, make it very specific so that it's actually consumable in bite size and it's actually achievable in a short period of time. Making your goals in that kind of sense makes it much easier to achievable and less likely for you to say, yo, forget this, I'm gonna drop this is dumb, I don't know what I was doing, I'm dumb. Maybe I'm not, but I'm not doing this today. Making it, making your goals more achievable in those kind of small increments. And then maybe you can increase your, the size of what you do, the scope of what you're doing, because now you have more drive, more passion behind it.
But make your goals very, very, very small.
Then, start to stretch it out, see how much you can actually build out those big goals. But yeah.
Does it mean making videos teaching people how to code when you don't know how to code yourself? Wait a minute, who made this script? What does learn to code mean to you? Now, if you have an idea, then guess what, genius? I just tricked you into thinking of your actual goal. You're welcome. Now, when I first started learning to code, I actually picked Python. And this is one of the few decisions I made that was not a mistake. Why? Because Python is a popular language and it's beginner friendly. It really helped me get started. Some people have different opinions where they suggest C and C++ because you'll get...
So yeah, I definitely start off with C++, then I moved towards C#, then I found Java. But C++ was like my bread and butter, especially during college, especially when I was doing a lot of embedded system type programming. Yeah, it was, a really great language to go about learning the basis of programming. It's like, that's why I learned about OOP. That's why I learned about all those particular pillars of OOP and just like some fundamental things in regards to that. But I didn't learn like building out software as a profession back then, but it was just like tinker, hack there, figure out that kind of stuff here and there, search for that information, boom. That's all it was for me. Picking a language is very important. It kind of helps, but also what's really important is what you're going to build with that language. Pick a language that is going to be helpful in the sense like, hey, if I'm picking this language, then the job that I'm about to try to go for is going to be using this language. It's going to use this tech stack. So not just, a single language, but it could be using, this particular database. It could be using this particular, front-end framework, or then you have these interworking tools such as Git and stuff for contribution and collaboration and stuff. Like understanding that kind of sense of things, that kind of like helps. So like if you have a goal of like working for someone, look at what's in the job description, what they're saying, what they want for that particular candidate. Start building out and using these tools somehow and getting access to these tools. Sometimes there's some gatekeeping there for some of these tools because you might not actually get these tools. You actually have to go through a company who's going to spend like thousands of dollars to use these tools. But sometimes you can get tools for free. Try to get at least 80% of what's on the job description and be very fluent and proficient in what you're talking about using that tool, and you'll be good.
My advice for a programming language is pick a popular and beginner-friendly language. The reason I say this is because if a language is popular, then there's a lot of resources to learn the language.
I very much agree. So like JavaScript, Python, and all that stuff, like you're gonna see a lot of repositories online that have already built stuff. Don't reinvent the wheel. Sometimes a lot of coding is about reading other people's code who already done it before and actually understand that. If you start to understand the logic behind how they build their stuff, then you can start finding, particular elements that you want to take from it. JavaScript and Python, they have communities and stuff in regards to that, a lot of resources and people use those things. And, things continue to, be evolutionary, revolutionary on what things are coming about in these languages because a lot of people are, backing it to support this particular language. Pretty much find your language, find your people.
Plus, if it's beginner friendly, you're going to have an easier time learning, and the easier it is, the less likely you're going to quit because you're going to feel like such a smart person because how easy the language is. Now, the programming languages...
Yo, Scratch. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think, where did Scratch come about? I believe this was Raspberry Pi. Was it Raspberry Pi? I believe it was Raspberry Pi. But for the most part, I think this is really good like building blocks for like kids and stuff to understand it. Boom. But you're not gonna do this for production code. Oh my gosh, you better not.
I consider popular and beginner friendly are probably Python and JavaScript. Oh my god, here we go again. What do you want me to say? Python is basically English, and JavaScript, it's JavaScript. There's a reason why everyone recommends these languages. They're the most beginner-friendly languages out there. There's a lot of high-quality resources to learn these languages. You can use them for a lot of things. A lot of companies use both of these languages. There's really not many cons to this. And if you're one of those people that are like, oh, this is not real programming, I don't Yes.
I would say JavaScript came a long way. Like now, JavaScript is very similar to a very OOP type language. You're able to develop in class. You're able to have, constructors in these classes in JavaScript. You're able to create methods in these classes, and then you're able to extend and stuff. It's like it's pretty much building off the principles of OOP for the most part. I'm pretty sure JavaScript has all of that. The only difference is that you might have like type interfaces and stuff, so type issues. So you might have a number and then you have a string, or this number could be an actual string, but then converting all that stuff, like you have that issue. But that's why TypeScript came about, so that you don't have these issues at runtime and issues coming in from your JavaScript is not able to handle or see which particular type that the variable, the data that's coming in. So that's what the purpose of TypeScript is for. It's supposed to make it where you can compile your TypeScript into JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, and so on. But there's ways around it. There's ways around it. And they've added particular elements and stuff where you can check the types and all that stuff before you do any operations on data manipulation. So there's a lot of stuff in regards to that. But JavaScript, I would say JavaScript is getting there. If it's not there already, with what I already seen, what I've been learning from the latest JavaScript updates, it's pretty much there with OOP, if not already.
If you do have a goal, do some research on how to achieve your goal and use the programming language that'll get you there. Feel free to use ChatGPT to help you. Now, once you pick your language, stick to the one language. Please. There's this thing that a lot of beginners struggle with, and I struggled with it when I first started learning to code. Well, honestly, I still struggle with it today. Shiny object syndrome. It's basically when you get distracted from something else and you drop everything that you were doing. And this happens a lot in programming because
that AI fight was crazy. I don't know what's going on over there.
whatever programming language you pick, you're gonna have to learn these fundamentals: variables, loops, functions, conditionals, arrays. Every single programming language uses these.
Yeah, I like how you lays that out so much. It's facts. I mean, these are the fundamental things that you need to learn. The only difference, as you can see, the syntax. This looks like C, could be C, but I know that the other one to the right, far right, is C++. Because I know how C++ looks. Oh my goodness. Yo, that N, L, oh my gosh. I was so tired of writing that. That's what I'm saying. Is like a lot of times when you get in your flow of things, it's all about building, like what problem you're solving and the tool that you're going to use for it. You can use any tool, almost. And then we say almost. You can't, like for example, you can't use Apex to build any server language out there because Apex is a proprietary language, unless you can build a compiler that says, hey, I want a compiler to build in Apex, and now I want to turn this into some type of language that this server can understand. Yeah, that actually might be a really cool idea, because for those people who want to build stuff in Apex and it's like, I only know Apex, bro. Can someone build a compiler for Apex so that I can use it in all my other server backend projects? Yeah, I mean, sticking to your first language and learning that really well, that's okay. But like I said, like once you learn one language, you pretty much know them all. It's very easy to go to another language. You just need to learn some basic things in regards to that other language and how it does its stuff.
There's another thing I would also learn early on: version control with Git and GitHub. Now, I know Git and GitHub sound boring, but trust me, please, learning Git and GitHub early is going to save you from so many headaches. And
yeah, learn version control. You just have to learn it. It's going to help you out so much. Just think of if you had a paper and now this piece of paper got wet for some reason. Version control can like go back in history and where this paper was dry. And now you have dry paper. Now you can start from at that point when the paper was dry. It's fantastic. Learn it.
I'm gonna be honest with you, finding information about programming is pretty hard when you're just getting started. When I first started learning to code, I obviously didn't know a lot of the lingo and jargon, so it was really hard to find the right information. I was overwhelmed with options, YouTube tutorials, books, courses. It's pretty overwhelming. Now, which one's the best? My videos.
My videos. I can teach you everything. He made a good point. Books. are outdated. Like I can tell you right now, don't buy any book unless it's just a conceptual book for the most part. It's just teach you the concept or some type of pattern. Because I mean, anything on a particular language is gonna get outdated. I stopped buying tutorial books. Like I used to buy a lot of tutorial books with Android programming and iOS development programming because I was like, yo, these things gonna stay the same. And I realized, yo, these things, this function is outdated, or they moved towards from Java to Kotlin, and now I gotta learn Kotlin to do Android development. It's just wild. But for the most part, it's like, yeah, don't buy a specific language book, but buy the concepts behind the books, and you'll be able to pretty much search everything online to find the latest documentation. Documentation online is going to be your best bet, especially the source of that documentation for that language, Java. Even though I think Java's documentation is horrible, but hopefully someone can do something better about that. Or there might be another documentation thing out there. You can just search it up and say, hey, there's a better user interface for documentation for Java.
Now remember, my goal is to be a full stack developer or software engineer, so if you don't want to do that, these resources might not be helpful to you. You're gonna have to do your own research. I'm sorry. Now, if I was starting over today, one resource I would definitely rely on is roadmap.sh. This isn't sponsored. I genuinely think it's an amazing resource. Roadmap.sh is basically a guide that shows you what you need to learn and in what order. If you want to be a web developer, here's your path. Backend developer, here's what you need to know. They've got roadmaps for basically every position, and they keep adding new roadmaps. Plus, they have like an AI roadmap generator, which is pretty good. I would recommend it. They're awesome. Now, another resource.
Now, that's actually pretty awesome. I'm gonna check that out. Probably do a review of that and see what my gaps are in my learning for all these particular realms, because I know front-end development. I don't know every single aspect of front-end development. I've done back-end development, but I'm pretty sure like my knowledge is not fully there. DevOps has definitely been something I've been passionate about in the last couple of years. So the GitHub and continuous integration, continuous development, and stuff like continuous deployment is something I've been very interested into. So yeah, I would be very interested in checking out this roadmap. I'm going to definitely look into that.
I'd watch 3 hours of tutorials instead of spending 15 minutes reading documentation. Don't be like me, please. Oh, and if we're talking about resources, there's this newsletter called Sloth Bites written by this cool guy named the Coding Sloth. I'm just saying, if I was learning to code again, I would definitely subscribe to Sloth Bites.
Yeah, so it's very interesting that he did a segment for Daily Dev, but then he also has Sloth Bites. Oh my gosh. He did 2 plugs. All right. I see you, Sloth. I see you, Sloth. Hey, do your thing, man. Do your thing.
Projects. Fun, kinda. Depends on what you make. Yeah, I'm starting to understand why it took me this long to learn to code. If I was learning to code again, the moment I learned the fundamentals, I would start building projects. ASAP. As soon as you can. And I know what you're thinking.
But I don't know enough yet. I'm not ready. I need to watch more tutorials.
No, you don't. Look.
I agree. No, you don't. Get out of tutorial purgatory. Get out of it as fast as you can. Start building projects. And yes, you can figure it out.
Little by little.
Just break it up. Then ask your questions. Just go to your next question. If you don't know the answer to that question, ask another question. It's always continuously asking questions. So continue to ask yourself questions so you get answers. That's it. That's all really it is.
Oh, and if you wanted to create a project for your resume, here's a little tip. Look at job postings for whatever positions that you want and read the description and look at the technologies that they're using and create projects using those technologies. Pretty simple and straightforward. Yeah.
I agree. I mentioned this before earlier in this video. Yeah, just pretty much look at the tech stack that they do and then, use those technologies of the company that you want to go for, or the majority of the companies that you want to go for. Don't put all your eggs in one basket for one company. Look at all the tech stacks and see how you can learn all this tech stack technology so that you can build out projects and showcase that. And whenever you get in an interview with those particular companies, you can actually speak to it. That's it. All right, so yeah, we're at the end of this video. Great video, Sloth. I definitely highly recommend watching this video. I'm going to give you a thumbs up. And I am not subscribed to you already. I'm going to subscribe to you. Yo, I love your videos. I've been watching your videos for a long time. I'm going to subscribe more. I'm going to subscribe to all other ones that I really like. And I definitely like Coding Sloth. He definitely put some great information out there. Definitely seems like information I put out there too. You guys should definitely subscribe to me as well and like my channel as well, because I definitely put out videos such as Sloth. And yeah, see you in the next one. Peace.